This is the video for Module 3. It's Lesson 4, Reducing Fractions. So we're going to go over some divisibility rules, which will help us when we reduce fractions. So the first one is, how do I know if a number is divisible by 2? In order for a number to be divisible by 2, it must have an even number in the ones place. If it has an even number in the ones place, then it is definitely divisible by 2. So here's an example. Is 76 divisible by 2? Well, here's the one place. 6 is an even number because 2, 4, 6, 8, and 0 are all even numbers. So since there's a 6 in the ones place, we know it is divisible by 2 because it is even. The next number, 5,768. Doesn't matter how many digits there are, I just go to that ones place. It's even. It has an 8, so the whole thing is divisible by 2. The next one is, how do I know if a number is divisible by 3? To know if a number is divisible by 3, I take all of the digits in the number and add up the digits. If the sum is divisible by 3, then the whole number is divisible by 3. So here's an example. I have 87. I add 8 plus 7, which equals 15. 15 is divisible by 3, so I know that 87 is divisible by 3. Here's a larger number, 5,778. I add 5 plus 7 plus 7 plus 8. When I add them together, I get 27. I know 27 is divisible by 3, but if you're someone who was not sure, you could then even add that. 2 plus 7 equals 9, and if 9 is divisible by 3, the whole thing is divisible by 3. To find out if a number is divisible by 4, what you have to do is look at the last two digits, and if it's divisible by 4, then the whole thing is divisible by 4. So here's some examples. In 724, the last two digits in the tens and the ones place is 24. Since 24 is divisible by 4, so is 724. So now I look down here. The last two digits are 18. 18 is not divisible by 4, so the whole number is not divisible by 4. 5. In order for a number to be divisible by 5, it must end in a 0 or a 5. Very simple. 45 divisible by 5, it ends in a 5, so yes it is. 8,790 ends in a 0, so yes it is divisible by 5. How do I know if a number is divisible by 6? It must be divisible by 2 and 3. So I look right here, 93. 93 is not divisible by 2, so it cannot be divisible by 6. So this should be 2 and 3. It's not or, it's and. Down here, 5,768, it is divisible by 2. Now I check it for 3, so I add it together, which is 26. 26 is not divisible by 3, so it cannot be divisible by 6. And the last one is, how do I know if a number is divisible by 10? And it should end in a 0. So 95 ends in a 5, so it's not divisible by 10. 760 ends in a 0, so it is divisible by 10. So now we're going to take our information that we have, and we're going to practice reducing. So I'm going to look at these two numbers right here, 50 and 80. I'm going to think of numbers that I can divide them by, some factors, and I know they both end in 0, so I can divide them both by 10. And I get 5/8. Over here, I want to think of some numbers that I can divide both of these by. Some people might see to divide by 2 first because they're both even. 42 divided by 2 is 21, and 54 divided by 2 is 27. Now they look at the next set of numbers and they wonder how to simplify this because I have to make it in its lowest terms. I must simplify or I must reduce. And they might see that you can divide these both by 3, and they get 7/9. Now somebody else might look at this very same problem and say, you know what? I can divide this by 6 and this by 6, and I get 7/9. Either way, I get the same answer. This one just takes more steps. So whatever numbers work easier for you, you should use. And eventually, you will be able to use your fact knowledge and you'll be able to find the largest number. You want to find the largest number that goes into both. So now I look at 8/20ths and I see that I can divide it by 4. And over here, I look at 35/42 and I know I can divide it by 7. So you have to think of the facts that go into both. Sometimes, when you are reducing sometimes, like this one, the zeros are here again, I can just cross right out and I know it's 1/4. Another time I can look at the numerator and ask myself, can the numerator go into the denominator? And if it can, I can then just say divided by 8, divided by 8, and it's 1/8. And that is how you reduce fractions.